Hello, and welcome to TerraNash. I'm Aiden, your narrator for tonight. Let's take this time together to step away from the rush of the day and ease into a world of dreams and wonder. Tonight, I'll guide you on a journey to a faraway land where the golden sands of the desert meet the gentle flow of the Nile. Picture the soft glow of the moonlight, painting the dunes in silver, the air warm and calm, carrying with it the scent of jasmine and the quiet whispers of ancient stories. But before we begin, we'd love to hear from you. Where are you listening from? And what time is it as you settle in to hear this story? We'd also love to know what kinds of stories you'd enjoy next. Your thoughts and suggestions inspire us, so please share them in the comments below. If you'd like even more from us, you can check out our Patreon for early access to all our stories and a curated Spotify playlist to accompany your journey to relaxation. Oh, and I wanted to share an important update with you. Currently, less than 10% of our viewers are subscribed to the channel, which means more than 90% of you haven't subscribed yet. If you've been enjoying our bedtime stories, subscribing is a simple and free way to support us. Reaching 1,000 subscribers will allow us to remove all mid-roll ads, ensuring a completely uninterrupted and relaxing experience for you. Your support means the world to us, and together, we can make TerraNash an even more peaceful place for storytelling. Now, close your eyes and take a deep breath. Let the weight of the day drift away as you sink into the comfort of your bed. Our tale begins in a small, peaceful village, where a young girl named Amina discovers a magical golden feather, shimmering like a tiny sun in her hands. But this feather isn't just a treasure. It carries the wisdom of a legendary bird known as the phoenix, a sacred symbol of renewal and hope. As we follow Amina's journey, you'll learn about the cycles of life and the beauty of rising again after every fall. The soothing rhythm of the story will carry you to a place of peace, where you can embrace the comforting truth that even in life's challenges, there is always a chance to begin anew. So, let your breathing slow, let your body relax, and allow the golden glow of the phoenix to guide you into a restful, renewing sleep. The day had been long, but the evening brought a cool breeze that danced across the quiet village, rustling palm leaves and carrying the soft hum of the Nile. Amina, a curious and bright-eyed girl of 10, found herself unable to sleep. The pull of the night sky, vast and speckled with stars, seemed to call her outside. She slipped from her home, her bare feet brushing against the cool sand, as she wandered toward the outskirts of the village. The desert stretched out before her, endless and silent, illuminated by a crescent moon that bathed the dunes in a pale, silvery light. As Amina walked, something unusual caught her eye. A faint golden glow nestled in the sands, far brighter than the moonlight. Her heart quickened as she approached the light, the desert feeling both mysterious and inviting. There, half buried in the sand, lay a feather unlike any she had ever seen. It shimmered like molten gold, and though it was still, it seemed to pulse with a quiet, living energy. Amina knelt down, her small hands trembling as she picked it up. It was warm, almost comforting, as if it held the essence of a gentle flame. She turned it over in her hands, marveling at its smooth, radiant surface. As the feather's glow reflected in her wide eyes, she felt a calm she couldn't explain, as though the feather were whispering to her, though she couldn't hear its words. Clutching the golden feather close to her chest, Amina returned home, her steps lighter, her heart filled with wonder. That night, as she lay in her simple bed beneath the soft flicker of an oil lamp, the feather rested beside her. Its glow dimmed to a soft radiance, casting a gentle light across her room. As her eyelids grew heavy, she drifted into the most vivid dream she had ever known. Amina found herself standing in the heart of the desert. The sands stretched endlessly around her, and the stars above seemed impossibly close, as if she could reach out and touch them. The air was warm, but it wasn't stifling. It wrapped around her like a comforting embrace. Before her, a figure began to take shape. At first, it was nothing more than a glimmering flame, flickering and growing until it became something extraordinary. A bird of unimaginable beauty. Its feathers blazed like fire, glowing in shades of gold, crimson, and amber. It stood tall, its presence both majestic and calming, with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of the ages. Amina felt no fear, only awe, as the bird regarded her with a kind expression. "You have found my feather," the phoenix spoke, its voice rich and soothing, like the gentle flow of the Nile. "It is no ordinary feather, child. It is a piece of me, a symbol of renewal and the power to rise from life's greatest challenges." The phoenix's words carried a deep resonance, as though they were meant not just for her ears, but for her soul. "Do you know what it means to rise again, little one?" the phoenix asked, its fiery wings glowing brighter. Amina shook her head, her voice caught in her throat. The phoenix's gaze softened. "It means that even when the world around you feels as if it is burning away, there is always the chance to begin anew, stronger and brighter than before. You hold the feather now because you are ready to understand this truth. Keep it close, and when the time comes, it will guide you to the answers you seek." Amina wanted to ask so many questions. Why had she been chosen? What was she meant to do? But before she could speak, the phoenix spread its glowing wings, and the desert faded into light. Amina awoke with a start, her heart steady, but her mind alight with wonder. The golden feather still rested beside her, glowing faintly in the dim light of dawn. Though she didn't fully understand what the phoenix had told her, she felt a new strength stirring within her. For now, she knew only one thing: her life would never be the same. In the days that followed, Amina couldn't stop thinking about the phoenix's words. The golden feather felt alive in her hands, warm to the touch, as though it carried the fire of the bird itself. She would spend hours by the river, gazing at its soft glow, wondering what the phoenix had meant about rising again. The peaceful village she had always known was facing trouble. The Nile, the lifeblood of their community, was receding. Its waters no longer flowed with the same strength, and the crops that depended on its nourishment were beginning to wither. The villagers whispered of ill omens, of a time of hardship descending upon them. One evening, Amina sat on the bank of the Nile, her toes dipping into the cool water. She held the feather tightly, closing her eyes and letting its warmth calm her. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the feather began to hum softly, its glow brightening against the deepening dusk. In that moment, a thought came to her, though she couldn't explain how or why. It wasn't just a feather. It was a symbol of hope, of renewal. The phoenix had spoken of rising from ashes, of finding strength in the face of hardship. Could this be what her village needed? But Amina hesitated. She was just a child. How could she possibly help? The feather might be magical, but she was not. Still, deep in her heart, she felt the quiet reassurance of the phoenix's presence, as though it were whispering, "You are stronger than you know." She decided to speak to the elders of the village, though the thought made her stomach flutter with nerves. The feather's glow seemed to steady her, its warmth giving her courage. That night, as her family gathered for their evening meal, Amina looked up at her father. "I need to speak to the elders," she said softly, her voice trembling but determined. Her father frowned, concerned. "What could you need to tell them, little one?" Amina glanced down at the feather in her hands. Its golden light seemed to pulse, as if urging her on. "It's about the phoenix," she said simply. "I think I know how to help the village." The next day, Amina stood before the village elders, a circle of wise men and women who had guided the community for generations. She felt small under their watchful eyes, but she held the feather close, letting its warmth give her strength. She told them about the night she found the feather and the dream of the phoenix. She spoke of the bird's message, of renewal and hope, of rising even when the world seemed to crumble around them. Her voice quivered at first, but as she spoke, she felt a deep certainty settle over her. The elders listened in silence, their expressions a mix of curiosity and doubt. When she finished, one of the elders, an old woman named Hala, leaned forward. Her voice was gentle but firm. "Child, what you speak of is a story, a beautiful one, but a story nonetheless. How can a feather help us when the river dries and the crops fail?" Amina's heart sank. She didn't know how to answer. She looked down at the feather, its glow dimming as though sharing her doubt. For a moment, she wondered if she had imagined everything. But then she remembered the phoenix's voice. "When the time comes, we'll guide you to the answers you seek." Taking a deep breath, Amina raised her head. "The phoenix said to return to the place where I found the feather. I believe the answers are there." The elders exchanged glances, their skepticism clear. But Hala, after a long pause, nodded. "Let us see this place, then. If the child believes so strongly, perhaps we owe it to her to try." That evening, under a sky heavy with stars, Amina led the elders and several villagers into the desert. The night was quiet, the only sound the soft crunch of sand beneath their feet. Amina held the feather before her, its glow lighting the way. As they reached the spot where she had first found the feather, Amina stopped. She closed her eyes, holding the feather tightly, and let the phoenix's presence fill her thoughts. Suddenly, the sands began to shift, as though stirred by an invisible wind. A golden glow spread across the dunes, and before their astonished eyes, the phoenix appeared. Its fiery wings illuminated the night, casting warm light over the villagers. Gasps of awe filled the air as the phoenix spoke, its voice resonant and soothing. "You have come seeking answers," it said, "and here they are. Just as I rise from my ashes, so too can your village rise from this hardship. Trust in the cycles of life. What seems like an end is often only the beginning." The phoenix turned its gaze to Amina, its golden eyes filled with pride. "You were chosen to carry my feather because you have the heart to see beyond despair. Share this lesson with your people, and they will find the strength to rebuild." With a great sweep of its wings, the phoenix spread its light across the desert, and in that moment, the villagers felt something shift within them. The doubts and fears they carried were replaced by a deep, unshakable hope. As the phoenix faded into the night sky, the elders turned to Amina, their eyes filled with gratitude. They had come to the desert seeking answers, and had found a child's wisdom to guide them. The return from the desert was unlike anything Amina had experienced. The once skeptical villagers walked in quiet reverence, their faces illuminated with a newfound sense of hope. Even the elders, who were known for their stoicism, had softened, their eyes filled with wonder and trust in Amina's words. Back in the village, Amina stood before the gathered crowd in the central square. It was rare for a child to address the village, but no one questioned her place. The golden feather rested in her hands, its soft glow reassuring her as she prepared to speak. "The phoenix showed us the truth," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "When something seems to be ending, it's not the end. It's the start of something new. Just as the phoenix rises from its ashes, we too can rise, even when things feel hopeless." She paused, letting her words settle over the crowd. "We can't wait for the Nile to return on its own. The phoenix chose us to find a way forward together. If we unite and work as one, we can overcome this hardship." The villagers murmured among themselves, their doubt giving way to determination. The elders stepped forward, with Hala addressing the crowd. "The child is right. We cannot sit idle, hoping for the Nile to save us. We must take action and trust in the strength that the phoenix has awakened in us." And so, under the direction of the elders, and inspired by Amina's vision, the village sprang to life with renewed purpose. Some worked to dig irrigation channels deeper into the earth, seeking hidden water sources. Others gathered seeds and herbs that could thrive even with less water, planting them carefully in the sunlit soil. Amina helped wherever she could, her small hands carrying water jars and tending to young plants. The feather remained close, tucked into the folds of her clothing, its warmth giving her strength when exhaustion crept in. Though the days were long and the work arduous, a spirit of unity filled the air. The villagers sang songs of hope as they labored, their voices rising into the golden light of the desert sun. For the first time in weeks, laughter echoed through the village, and smiles replaced the furrowed brows of worry. And then, one morning, a miracle happened. Amina woke to the sound of excited shouts echoing through the village. Rubbing the sleep from her eyes, she hurried outside to find a crowd gathered near the riverbank. The golden glow of dawn lit up their faces, which were filled with joy and wonder. She pushed her way to the front, clutching the feather tightly, and gasped at what she saw. The Nile, which had been reduced to a trickle, now flowed with renewed strength. The water sparkled under the morning sun, as though it carried the blessing of the phoenix itself. The villagers cheered, their voices mingling with the gentle rush of the river. Hala stepped forward, her weathered hands clasping Amina's shoulders. "This is no coincidence," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "The phoenix has guided us through you. It is your courage and belief that led us here." Amina shook her head, her cheeks flushed. "It wasn't just me. It was all of us, working together. The phoenix gave us hope, but we made the change happen." As the water flowed once more, the villagers wasted no time putting their renewed energy to work. They planted fresh crops along the riverbanks, their roots soaking up the life-giving water. Children played in the shallows, their laughter a melody of pure joy. Amina stood at the edge of the river, the golden feather still warm in her hands. She gazed at the flowing water, a quiet peace settling over her. The phoenix's message was clear now. It wasn't just about the river. It was about the strength that lay within each of them. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the villagers gathered in the central square for a celebration. They lit lanterns that swayed gently in the warm night breeze, casting a soft glow over the festivities. Hala raised her voice to address the crowd. "Let us remember this day, not only for the return of the river, but for the lesson we have learned. Just as the phoenix rises from its ashes, we too have risen from our hardship, and we must carry this wisdom forward, always." The villagers cheered, lifting their cups of water in a toast. Amina sat quietly on the edge of the gathering, watching the golden light of the lanterns dance across the faces of her friends and family. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, not just from the feather, but from the knowledge that she had played a part in something far greater than herself. As the celebration continued, Amina looked up at the night sky. She thought of the phoenix, of its fiery wings and its powerful presence. In her heart, she knew that the phoenix's gift wasn't just the feather. It was the reminder that within every end, there is a chance to begin anew. Life in the village began to flourish in the days that followed. The river continued its strong flow, and the villagers worked together to rebuild what had been lost. Crops sprouted anew, the fields stretching out like green carpets, and laughter echoed in the air once more. Amina's role in the transformation became a story that the villagers told over and over, a tale of hope that reminded them of the strength they held within. But late one night, as the village rested under a blanket of stars, Amina awoke with a start. The golden feather beside her glowed brightly, far brighter than ever before. The soft hum it emitted resonated in the quiet room, filling her chest with an unfamiliar urgency. She reached for it, and the moment her fingers brushed its surface, her room melted away, replaced by the vast desert. The phoenix was waiting for her, its fiery form glowing brilliantly against the dark sky. Its eyes held the same kindness she had seen before, but tonight there was something deeper, an intensity that seemed to peer straight into her soul. "You have done well, Amina," the phoenix said, its voice as soothing as the Nile's gentle current. "Your village has risen, and you have shown great courage. But there is more to learn, more to understand." Amina tilted her head, confused. "I thought everything was okay now. The river has returned, and the village is happy again." The phoenix spread its golden wings, and the desert wind swirled around them. "Renewal is not a single act, child. It is a journey. Hardship does not vanish forever. It comes and goes, as the Nile rises and falls. The true lesson is not in one victory, but in learning how to face the challenges that will come again." Amina's heart sank. She thought they had overcome the worst, that the return of the river marked the end of their struggles. "What do I need to do?" she asked quietly. The phoenix's feathers shimmered, casting warm light across the sands. "You must learn to let go of what holds you back. Fear, doubt, and the need to control every outcome. Only when you embrace change fully, without resistance, can you rise like I do." Amina frowned, her small hands clutching the feather tightly. "But I'm just a child. I don't know how to do that." The phoenix lowered its gaze, its voice softening. "You have already taken the first steps, little one. Trust yourself. Trust the strength within you. And remember, you are never alone. The feather will guide you, as will those who love you." Before Amina could respond, the phoenix spread its great wings, and she was once again enveloped in light. When she opened her eyes, she was back in her room, the feather glowing softly beside her. She didn't fully understand what the phoenix meant, but deep in her heart, she knew the words were true. Life would always bring change and challenge, but with courage and trust, she could face them. The next morning, Amina woke before the sun had risen. The phoenix's words lingered in her mind, and she felt an unshakable pull to return to the desert. Though she didn't know what she would find, she trusted that the feather would guide her. She slipped out of her home quietly, carrying the feather close. The village was still asleep, soft hush of dawn filling the air. Amina walked toward the desert, her bare feet brushing against the cool sand. As she journeyed farther from the village, the feather began to glow brighter, its warmth spreading through her hands. The air grew still, and the dunes around her seemed to shimmer with an ethereal light. It was as if the desert itself was alive, watching her, waiting. At last, she reached a place she didn't recognize, an ancient ruin buried partially in the sand. Broken pillars jutted out of the ground, and faded carvings covered the stones. In the center of the ruin was a wide, shallow pool of water, its surface perfectly still. Amina knelt beside the pool, holding the feather over it. The water rippled as if stirred by an unseen breeze, and an image began to take shape within its depths. She saw herself, standing before the phoenix, the same vision she had dreamed the night she first found the feather. But then the image changed. She saw her village, thriving and full of life. But shadows loomed in the distance, signs of challenges yet to come. Amina's heart ached at the sight, but she remembered the phoenix's words. Hardship was a part of life, just as renewal was. The feather in her hands began to hum, and the image in the water shifted again. This time, she saw herself older, her face lined with wisdom, standing before the villagers as they worked together to overcome new trials. Amina realized then that the feather wasn't just a gift. It was a reminder. It held the essence of the phoenix, the symbol of rising from ashes. But it was her actions, her choices, that would carry that symbol forward. The water stilled, and the glow of the feather dimmed, returning to its soft, comforting light. Amina stood, her heart filled with clarity. She didn't need to fear the challenges ahead. The phoenix's lessons had prepared her for the journey, and she knew she could guide her village through whatever lay ahead. As the first rays of sunlight broke over the horizon, Amina turned and began her walk back to the village. The golden feather rested in her hands, its warmth reminding her that she carried the strength of the phoenix within her. Amina returned to the village as the sun climbed higher into the sky. The golden feather, now a familiar presence in her hands, felt heavier than before. Not with weight, but with the responsibility it represented. Life in the village continued as it had since the Nile's return, filled with the sounds of laughter, the hum of work, and the gentle murmur of the flowing river. But something was different. Amina felt it before she saw it. A tension in the air that hadn't been there before. Villagers gathered in small groups, their hushed voices filled with worry. Crops that had once thrived along the river's edge were wilting, their leaves yellowing despite the water's abundance. Hala approached Amina, her expression grim. "The river still flows, but the crops are failing," she said softly. "We don't understand why. The soil was fertile just days ago." Amina felt a pang of fear, but clutched the feather tighter, its warmth steadying her. She remembered the phoenix's words. Hardship would come again, but it was not insurmountable. "We'll find a way," she said, her voice firmer than she felt. That night, Amina sat alone by the river, the feather glowing softly in her lap. She closed her eyes, reaching out with her heart. "Phoenix, I need your guidance," she whispered. "What do we do now?" The air grew still, and the familiar hum of the feather deepened. When Amina opened her eyes, she wasn't by the river anymore. She stood in the same desert where she had first met the phoenix. The great bird appeared before her, its fiery wings casting golden light across the sands. "The land is testing you, Amina," the phoenix said, voice a soothing melody. "Just as I am reborn through fire, the earth, too, must renew itself. The soil has grown weary and must rest. But this is not the end. There is always a way forward." Amina frowned, confusion clouding her thoughts. How can the soil rest if we need it to grow food? The phoenix's eyes glimmered with patience. By giving as much as you take, plant crops that heal the soil. Work with the land, not against it. Change is not easy, but it is necessary. When the vision faded, Amina found herself back by the river, the feather still warm in her hands. Her heart swelled with determination. She didn't have all the answers, but the phoenix had given her the wisdom to guide her people once more. The next morning, she gathered the elders and shared what she had learned. "We need to work with the land," she explained. "We must plant differently, using crops that restore the soil and give it time to heal." Though skeptical at first, the villagers trusted Amina's wisdom, for she had already proven herself. Together, they sought seeds of plants that could enrich the soil, and they worked tirelessly to adapt their ways. It was slow, painstaking work, but a spirit of unity carried them through. As the weeks passed, the land began to respond. The soil regained its vitality, and the crops flourished once more. The villagers celebrated their success, their faith in Amina and the phoenix renewed. The village had transformed, not just in its fields and riverbanks, but in its spirit. The trials they had faced had brought them closer together, teaching them the value of perseverance and trust. Amina, though still a child, had become a symbol of hope and wisdom. One evening, as the villagers gathered to share a meal by the river, Hala stood and raised her voice. "Let us not forget what we have learned. Challenges will come again, as they always do, but we are no longer afraid. We carry the strength of the phoenix within us, just as Amina does." The crowd cheered, their voices echoing across the water. Amina sat quietly at the edge of the group, the golden feather glowing softly in her lap. She looked up at the stars, thinking of the phoenix and its fiery wings. Later that night, as she lay in bed, the feather began to hum again. Amina closed her eyes, and the familiar warmth of the phoenix's presence enveloped her. "You have done well, Amina," the phoenix said, its voice filling her heart with peace. "Your village has learned the lesson of renewal, and you have shown great courage. But your journey is not over. The feather will remain with you, a reminder of the strength within." Amina nodded, her heart full. "I'll keep guiding them," she said softly. "I'll keep rising, no matter what comes." The phoenix's light faded, leaving Amina in peaceful darkness. She fell into a deep sleep, her dreams filled with golden wings and the promise of new beginnings. In the days and years that followed, Amina grew into a wise and compassionate leader. The village thrived under her guidance, its people forever changed by the lessons of the phoenix. And though challenges came and went, they rose together each time, like the mythical bird that had inspired them. The golden feather remained with Amina for the rest of her days, a symbol of hope and renewal. And when she was gone, the feather was passed down through generations, its light continuing to guide those who carried it. For in the heart of every ending lies the seed of a new beginning. And like the phoenix, we all have the power to rise again.